Alright, how you doing? So I wanted to have a wee chat with you about these experiences I have at these megalithic sites. You know, the deeper I go into these places and the greater the connection I get, the more it opens up my thinking. You know, a lot of these places I go to are definitely a spiritual experience. It's a deep sensory experience when I go to these places, you know, and it makes me kind of think about in terms of the kind of left brain, right brain. You know, the left brain in terms of logic and reason and factual and, I don't know, linear and verbal, versus the right brain. You know, we like to put things into boxes in terms of the right brain, you know, in terms of non-verbal, emotional intelligence, imagination, creativity. And you could think about how people view these ancient history and megaliths sitting in, you know, the mainstream camp of archaeology and historians and anthropologists, or, you know, the alternative camp of the so-called pseudo archaeologists or pseudo scientists or alternative thinkers. You know, I've got respect for everyone doing this who's passionate about it, you know what I mean? And I don't particularly belong to any of these camps. I do what feels right to me, you know what I mean? I follow what feels right to me, but, you know, respect to the mainstream, but also the alternative thinkers. And I think there's there's definitely a place for both, for sure. And as I said, respect to everyone that's into this and who has a passion for it. But I guess what I'm getting is, you know, I've got this passion, or I've found this passion, and it's a lifetime's passion, you know what I mean? There's thousands of places to go to and explore across the world if I ever get a chance to go to all these places. It's a passion where there's many questions, there's many rabbit holes and very few answers. You know, will we have answers to these questions? We'll have answers to these questions in my lifetime. And that's quite something, to have a passion where you might not get an answer to it, you know. But, you know, my feeling very much with these places is to you know, we could easily find the answers through archaeologists who discover some, you know, manuscripts or this or that, which, you know, outlines the secrets to these places. But, you know, based on my experiences, I was talking about that left brain, right brain. It's this kind of right brain which I think is the key to unlocking the secrets to these places. And the reason I say that is because when I go to these stone circles or these dolmens, you know, I think people go to these places and see it in different ways. They could have that clinical scientific mindset, and it's a bunch of stones, and, you know, it's this and that. But for me, it's more than that. It's a true kind of experience. It's a spiritual thing for me. You know, when I go there, I connect. I feel the energy. You know, I'm kind of using the senses and feeling and touching, and it's weird. You know, that when I'm there, I'm like very, very present. It's really hard to explain that feeling of being present. The only other feeling I get like that is when I'm with the kids day to day, or when I'm boxing, I'm getting punched in the face, which is something I enjoy doing. But I just get that feeling of being really present. And, you know, some places I go to, I just get this weird feeling of time time standing still, or bending, or moving. Again, it's a weird thing to describe, but it feels like time suspends a wee bit when I go to these places. So that I get that feeling of connection, of being present, of being energized by the stones. Again, these stones have there's energetic properties to these stones, and I think it's how you come to these places here and here. And again, I've said before many times that, you know, I was the last person in the world that I thought would be into megaliths. It just wasn't on my radar, you know what I mean? So it's yeah, it's still mind blowing for me to think that this is what I'm passionate about. But for me, it is these trips, these visits I go to. It's a spiritual experience. And I guess what I'm getting at is, I think to truly unlock the secrets of these places, it's, you know, it is that left brain, right brain. I mean, clearly the ancients had the, you know, for me, the ancients possessed a higher state of consciousness. That's what I don't know if you can see it, that's what this tattoo is all about. You know, the pyramids, the man, the trees, the cosmos. And that's what that represents, is the ancients possessed a higher state of consciousness, and they had that through their connection with the land, with nature, with Mother Earth. But clearly they had all the left brain properties, you know, all these dolmens and what have you I've been to. Clearly these were very smart people in terms of their understanding of engineering and physics and what have you. But it's that creativity part which really kind of interests me, in terms of, well, first of all, why did they build them? At what point did they think, okay, I'm going to build a massive big dolmen, and we're going to build dolmens all over the world? You know what I mean? There's thousands of dolmens across the world, just to take one example of the megaliths. So I think it's that right brain part which really fascinates me, because when I'm at these places, I feel it's that part of my brain which is kind of buzzing, which is affecting my body and my senses and how I experience these places. You know, when I go to these places, I experience sensory experiences. I have I have, you know, sensory experiences like silence. Sounds like a mad thing to say, but silence, you know, there's I think I've talked about this before. There's a silence beyond silence when I go to some of these megaliths, which I've never really experienced anywhere else. So it's really quite deep experiences, deep sensory experiences for me when I go to these places, which really gets me to think in terms of, you know, how did these ancient people, how did the builders, these megalithic builders and users of these sites, how did they feel or understand or experience these places? And I've talked about silence, but I think sound is definitely something I'm interested in exploring further. You know, how did they experience sound at these places? You know, a lot of the sites I've been to, you do have those acoustic properties and in dolmens and kind of stone circles in Orkney or in Portugal. So sound has definitely got something to do with it, and the sound interacts also with the landscape. So how did these ancient people, how did they understand that? How did they experience, like, sound, for instance? That's what really kind of fascinates me. And I think to really tune in and tap into this this way of thinking, it is that right brain. It is that right brain to cultivate and pursue and to delve into. And that's kind of what I'm doing when I go to these places, is really trying to connect, is really trying to feel. It's really trying to feel here, and, you know, being present, time standing still, feeling energized, you know, just truly in that moment. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, with this video, is I'll keep keep at it in terms of when I go to these places, but I think really to really truly understand the secrets to unlock these places, it's really just trying to really connect. It's really trying to feel these places, feel their energy, listen, just using our senses. And you know, I've said before, I think these ancient people had senses beyond our senses. I think, you know, I truly believe they had a higher state of consciousness, which was they got that knowledge through their connection to the land, and again, another thing I've said is I think these places are functional. They're not ceremonial. They may well have been ceremonial, but they were functional because life then was about survival. You know what I mean? It was about survival. So I think these amazing monuments which have stood the test of time are functional. It's to continue the human race. It's to continue humanity through healing, through sacred healing water, through clean water. I think that's really, you know, that's what's behind these ancient sites. So I will continue to go to these places, you know, connect with them. And when I always come to these places, I I always ask for permission, but I come with reverence and wonder. It's the same how I approach, or when I'm in nature. And that's what these ancient people had. They had that reverence, they had that wonder with nature. Nature was godly to these people. And that's what we've kind of lost sight of today. So I think that's the big gap in terms of our knowledge and these ancient people. It's revering nature. And you know, these experiences I had in Egypt to the light, again, lots of people have given me lots of answers, but for me it's all connected with nature and the ancients, and that's what I'm doing with reppin nature. So I thought I'd give you a wee few things in terms of what I've been thinking about, and this is what I'm going to continue to do with reppin nature, with the places I go to, is to really try and truly connect at these ancient and sacred sites. That's what it's all about, and that for me that's the key to unlocking these places. So hope you enjoyed that wee video, a wee chat for you. Thanks very much for watching. Let me know what you think. Give us a wee like or comment below. All right, nice one. Cheers.